Between introducing in this moment, ladies and gentlemen, from Ghana, Franky Moro. And from Brighton, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Eubank. At the weighing today, Moro scale 11 stone 7 pounds, Eubank 11 stone 10 pounds. Referee for this contest for today, Paris, timekeeper Mr. Tom Rice.
And this is the joint main event of the evening. On the right, Britain's latest middleweight sensation, Chris Eubanks from Brighton, against Liverpool's Franky Moro. And Moro fresh off a good win against Frank Grant, who's a good puncher. In fact, the last time they met, Grant knocked him out in 6 rounds. And this will be a good test here. And Chris, of course, received TV exposure with his tremendous win over Anthony Logan just a couple of weeks ago at the Albert Hall. In his own inimitable style. Very capable fighter is Chris. And Moro is very spidery, long-armed. Been in with some good fighters. And of course Moro's confidence must be high with that point win over Grant. Good jab there from Eubanks, followed by a nice right to the body. He's a very resilient customer, is Franky, although Slugger O'Toole chinned him in 2. And there's a joy to watch Chris when he gets his jab moving. And he's one of these believers, he firmly believes that all the moves come from behind the jab. And, very good defensively as well, as Logan found to his cost, and takes a tremendous punch. One of 3 fighting brothers, the others being Peter and Simon. And a spirited exchange there from Moro. And the crowd's silent. He's a dedicated trainer, is Chris, under the guidance of Ronnie Davis. An interesting round, that. Eubanks did the chasing while Moro skirted around and flicked out the jab. Not too much in that one, I felt. Chris had the early part of his life in America, where he had 5 fights and won them all. And also boxed on the last Keith Miles promotion here at the York Hall when he stopped Simon Collins from Merthyr, a light heavyweight. And was quite impressive on that occasion too. I expect to see Chris cut down the gap between him and Moro in this round. Go to work with some good punches. Fairly casual performer, not overly concerned about his opponents, knows his own abilities. But as I say, Moro's very cagey, been around a long time now as Frank, originally from Ghana. Good jab there from Franky. I'm sure that style of Chris's mesmerises his opponents. I don't quite know what to expect from him. But Moro snappy with the jab. The crowd getting a wee bit impatient at the posing of Chris rather than the work, but that's just the way he is. And he's like a wild animal, is Eubank, stalking his prey. He'll need to stalk a bit harder than this, though, if he's going to cut Moro down. And in danger, of course, of being outworked. He's a very intelligent fighter, and I can't see that him allowing that to happen. He's got very good vision. But Moro's a good survivor, and the chances are he'll be there for some time yet, and he's quite happy with that round, is Franky, which I've got to give to him by virtue of the lack of activity by Chris. One of the best fights I remember Eubanks having was when he was doing 11 stone against Mel Justin down in Brighton, and he stopped Justin in 5. And Moro's the type of fighter that raises his game to match his opponents. I've seen him have some pretty dire performances against fairly mediocre opposition, but the likes of Rocky Kelly and Michael Watson, and he's tended to rise above them, or rise to the occasion, and also in Grant on the return, as he is doing here this evening against Chris Eubanks, although I think Chris is allowing him the luxury of getting away with it. Brought up on the good punches here, Chris. Just about to say that Eubanks was brought up on the mean streets of the South Bronx in New York, and learnt his trade in the tough gyms, where only the very brave venture alone, I should imagine, if the films are to be believed. But on Chris's own admission, it's a fairly rough place to hang out. And you've got to be a good fighter. And a good right there from Chris. That staggered Moro across the ring. And Eubank's looking again for that long right to Moro's head. And Franky not so busy in this round. Probably more content on avoiding the punches of Chris. It's a good puncher too, Chris, so Moro will certainly know it when he gets tabbed. Snappy left hook there from Eubanks as Moro moves to his right. And Keith Miles is fully convinced that Chris will beat Nigel Benn if and when they get the opportunity of fighting each other. And Chris a wee bit disappointed there with that performance in that round, but nothing in there. And getting a bit frustrated by Moro's hit and run tactics. But really he's got to fathom out a way of getting to him, and I would advocate just walking straight through Moro. So let's see if Eubanks can actually get to grips with Franky here. And Moro knows, of course, that he's got Eubanks rattled with his style. I just wonder how much gas Moro's got in his legs, whether they'll keep him away long enough. And a long right there from Eubanks. He wants to get it over here. As I suspected, Chris now attempting to totally ignore Moro's moves and just walk through him. But Franky's still there. As they go dancing around the ring, locked together. And Eubanks connecting at last with his change of tactic. Good right there, but landed a bit too high on Moro's forehead. Referee Dave Paris breaks them up. I'd like to see Chris inject a bit of urgency into his work, although he's got half a fight left after this round. And he's cutting down Eubanks all the time. It's getting them into fairly good positions, but not actually working from them, which is slightly annoying. And it must be awfully difficult for a fighter who generally dominates his opponents to actually find himself in with a man like Moro. And he goes trotting around the ring, and Dave Parris drags him back to his own corner. So the halfway point approaching here. So the countdown for round 5. And well, even if Eubanks was 4 rounds down at this point, I'd still give him, I wouldn't give anyone the odds about it going the distance. I think it's inevitable that Eubanks is going to catch up with Moro. The only question is when and how. And he's showing his frustration to Moro, which will obviously give Moro a psychological edge. But Chris connected with that long right. The problem with Moro is he's always going away. And again, the right catches him. Good defensive work there by Frank, but didn't get out of the way of that one. Nice right there from Chris. And again. Strange about his lack of application in this fight. I'm a bit concerned about Eubanks having such a good win against a good fighter in Logan. I suppose everyone that he comes up against is going to be inferior. And consequently, he might find it difficult to motivate himself. But certainly being given a run around by someone will surely be enough motivation. And again, the long right from Chris Eubanks batters or backs Moro into the corner where he gets out of the way. Good left hook there from Chris. And a nice right to the liver. This is the Eubanks that I'm used to. Just really wants to get in and mix it with Moro. Again, the right sinks into Moro's body. So, good round there for Chris. And he knows it, and I think we'll have more of the same in the next. Round 6 about to start. And if Chris continues in the same style in this round as he did in the last, I can't see much of a chance of Morrow getting through it.
Round 6.
3 to go. As Mike Atkinson signals to Morrow, he's only got to stay out of trouble for 3 rounds. He might steal it, but I don't think that Chris is going to give him the opportunity. And certainly for the plans of Keith Miles, I hope that Eubanks comes through this one. His original opponent, Sam Houston from Texas, was suddenly unavailable at the last minute, and Morrow's a late substitute. He's offering his chin to Morrow in an effort to kid him into throwing a shot and then countering. The left hook's probably the best punch for Eubanks in this. The right, Morrow appears to be moving away from the right quite well. And countered with the right there, which landed on Morrow's chest, I think. Must admit, not many people, or not everybody, likes Eubanks' unique style, but I've developed quite a liking for it myself. He's a very interesting fighter, very interesting person, and I must admit to being a bit of a fan. And I've seen Franky Morrow enough times to be less than enamoured with his own approach to the game. But no doubt about it, he can certainly be tricky, endurable. And the crowd now shouting for Eubanks to knock him out. He needs to follow that right to the body with the left hook to the chin, because every time he throws the right to the body, Morrow leans to his own right, exposing his chin for the left hook. I'm sure Ronnie Davis will have picked that up in the corner. Maybe he could dummy the right and crash in a left hook. Oh, that's a nice right there. That's got Morrow in bother. That's the one he was looking for. Oh, right on the bell too. And he was up at 7. And I'm sure that will have spurred Eubanks on. And a very uncomfortable round, that one for Franky. He's got 2 rounds to fuss his way through as Franky Morrow, and 2 rounds for Eubanks to win in what must be an impressive fashion if he's to realise his ambitions. As I say, I don't think he's capable of raising himself against someone he considers to be inferior. Not that I'm having a go at Morrow, it's just that Eubanks is really a class above him.
Round 7.
2 to go then. And Franky and Chris, in fact, a wee bit reluctant to get this one on. Let's have another one of those right hands from Eubanks. That will certainly liven things up. I've had good gym reports from Chris, and I know for a fact he's not just a gym fighter. As we saw against Logan, he can produce the goods on the night when he needs to. When the going got tough on that occasion, Eubanks got going and won very convincingly on my card in the end. But being slightly negative here, but not with that one he wasn't. Chris looking for a dramatic one-punch finish here, I feel. Really going for Moro's body. Oh, a crunching left hook there. That's the punch that I was on about earlier, and it actually got through in a big way. Chris is very good to watch when he gets those combinations of his going, which he hasn't done often enough in this one for me. Past the halfway point here in this 7th. And a flurry of punches to end that 7th round from Eubanks, which again he clearly won. So I wonder what's going to happen here. Is Moro going to run for his life, or is Eubank going to manage to cut him down and stop him in this last round? Regardless of his performance, from a record point of view, the points win over Franky Moro won't be too impressive. And he's got something stuck on his back there. It's just coming off, and a big attack from Eubanks to start this last round. Good punches from him. Would have been nice to have seen him start the contest this way. Instead he allowed Moro to gain in confidence with his tactics. Eubanks telegraphed that right. And Moro ducking and diving in much the same way that Logan did. But it's interesting, he managed to catch Logan with far more punches than he's catching Moro tonight. Although I've got no doubt that in my mind that Eubanks is ahead in this. Really, Chris needed to be impressive here to consolidate that win against Eubanks and make people think it wasn't just a flash in the pan, and also increase his credibility against Nigel Benn if and when they meet. I'm sure Ben will take him tomorrow on this performance. Morrow's still running for all he's worth. Who can blame him? I'd like to have seen Eubank use his left hook more against Franky. And it appears that Morrow is quite happy to go the distance. And referee Dave Parris there, telling Eubanks to stop talking. Which is not actually an infringement, I'm sure. It's probably deemed as ungentlemanly conduct. And yes, as I suspected, a win for Chris Eubanks, a very frustrated Chris Eubanks by the look of things. But a good performance by Morrow to survive 8 3-minute rounds against a very dangerous middleweight. On his night, he's dangerous at least. But tonight wasn't his night. And I gave Morrow a few of the early rounds. At least 3 of them, I think.
Our gentlemen, please. The referee scored the contest. Moro 76 points, Eubank 80 points.
Well,
Eubank the winner.
I think we never gave a round against Chris Eubanks, so it didn't take into account the defensive skills of Franky Morrow, which is unfortunate. That should have been reflected in the score, but there you are. But